Hey, Tracy here. So I wanted to talk about my recent trip to Ireland. I was called by my soul to go to Ireland, and what kind of brought it about last year, I did a QHHT session, which, if you don't know what that is, that's like a hypnotherapy where they go in and talk to your higher self. Um, and before this session, I had wanted to go to Greece because I know that in a past life I've been a warrior in Greece. I have spent many lifetimes with my one of my guides. We fought in Greece, like in ancient Greece, and so I wanted to go back there. So I did this session, and immediately, as soon as she kind of took me under, I had a past life memory of Ireland. And it was not my first past life memory, but um, I was like a sheep farmer, and it was very peaceful. I was like a man. Had a wife, um, and I had these sheep, and I was kind of one with the land. These sheep were my friends. I mean, I took care of them, and it was just so peaceful and beautiful, and just really kind of took me in and had the whole session. And then at the end, my guidance was to go to Ireland because that was where I rested. That was a restful life for me. And Greece was where I fought, and I should go to Ireland. And so I said, okay. And, I kind of tucked that in the back. I was like, I'll get there whenever the time's right. And I didn't, kind of push the issue and kept, wanting to go. But I was like, I'll go whenever it's right. So I've got a lot of transits going on this year. It felt that it was time. And I said, I felt called that this was the time to go. And so I also, you know, really started looking more into astrocartography, which, if you don't know what that is, you have, your natal chart, and then from there, different lines. So, like, in my natal chart, Jupiter's in my eighth house, and then there's certain places if you go, it moves to the lines, the angles, and things like that. I'm not going to go too far into it. I can talk about that in another video. Um, but yeah, so I've got my Jupiter descendant line going through Ireland, and then my Mercury ascendant and my Neptune MC all going through, um, you know, Ireland. And so Jupiter and Neptune rule Pisces. My Mercury is in Pisces. Um, so it was a very interesting place to be because, Neptune I mean, Pisces and Neptune are very foggy, dreamy, mystical type of places, or signs and planets. And so, you know, I would just wanted to see what it felt like because, I've got Neptune on my ascendant anyway, so I'm kind of used to that. Anyway, not to get lost in the weeds. So I flew into uh, Dublin for the day and spent the night, and then went started heading west. And I really didn't put too much thought into it. I wanted to which I kind of fought with myself. My soul wanted to be just go where you're guided. The other part of me is like, it's my first time in Ireland. I want to like go and see all the things, which I didn't want it to be too touristy because again, that starts messing with the energy and what I pick up. And so I just picked some places. I wasn't there for super long. Um, and I will say I loved Ireland, but talking about the Neptune, I was very, very ungrounded. I I was very ungrounded. I've got a trip to Spain. I'll do a video from last year where my Saturn descendant is runs through, and that was a whole nother experience. Past life memory there, uh, some other things, but it was very different. Ireland was lovely. I felt very connected, but Lord, it was a lot of Neptune and Pisces. It was a lot, and but it was great. And so anyway, so I'm going to share some pictures and I'm going to kind of talk about what I picked up. And then when I got home, I kind of, you know, or when I was in Ireland too, I tried to figure out what the history of the places were because, I like to go into places not knowing and seeing what I get and then, matching it up and seeing if it aligns. So let me see if I can share some of these pictures. And okay. So the first place I went was the Rock, and if I mess up any of these names, I'm sorry. The Rock of Dunamace. And this was, they have the motorway going from Dublin to Galway. I kind of took the scenic route. Um, so this first place was this castle that was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And it was very beautiful. And again, I didn't know much about it. They had a little placard that kind of told about it. So I went up there and I hiked to this castle, and it just was beautiful and it felt free, and expansive. But at the same time, so like this girl had been married off many moons ago, and I'm not getting all the history right now. You can look it up if you'd like. And so this castle was built for her to live, and they put her here, and I could feel where she thought it was beautiful, but it was so isolated, and she felt very very isolated here. Um, However, the castle, as you can see, it's in ruins. So the castle was liberated. All that heavy static energy that it had had when, you know, she lived there and, when it was in use, all of that had now been freed. So I actually felt, I don't want to, that's after driving and traveling and everything. But, I really try to talk to the land and the castle and, say thank you for letting me come. And it was very welcoming. It was glad to show off. It felt very free and expansive. And it was just a very beautiful, beautiful spot. And it seemed very glad to have me and, you know, very appreciative that I could come to share this place, this time with it, which is interesting because, you never know. You just, this is how I feel. Um, but it did feel free, the walls had crumbled down, you know, the universe could come in and all that stagnant, heavy energy was just kind of released and it felt like, yes, you're welcome here. You recognize that, what's going on and that we're you just commune with us, I guess is the best way, versus just being a tourist. And so it was really it just felt very happy and pleasant, to welcome me. But again, I could pick up on the not despair that she felt living there, but the isolation and um, s- depression that she felt from being put in this castle and away from her family and being married off. So I did pick up on some of that, but overall, the castle had been liberated from most of that because all the walls and disrepair of what had occurred. Um, but it was very beautiful. So then this is the best part. I start heading west and I was gonna go hike up a mountain. So I put it into to Google GPS and takes me down this dirt road or gravel road. It I don't know the last time anybody been on that road. And I was like, okay, surely this gets me to where I need to be. And I'm like, I mean, it's grown up in the middle, it's grown up on the sides, it's overgrown. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get there. And so then it exits out, but it's still gravel. And it takes me up this road and there's a open gate. And I was like, okay, well maybe this connects me. Still thinking in my intuition again, I have a bumper sticker on the back of my car that says intuition or I told you so. Say your intuition. So my intuition's like, we should not go on this road. But I ignored it and went on this road and it was like gravel and steep and it kept going up, up, up. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going up this mountain? Like, is it going to connect me to where I need to go to like hike up the mountain? So I keep going. And I mean, it is rutted and rocky. And there was a deer and it turned around and looked at me like, lady, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And so I keep going. And because by this time I'm committed. And, but there's that part of me that is like, okay, if a tire blows, and it just bothers me even now to talk about. If a tire blows, like, I'm fucked. I'm completely screwed. And so I'm kind of like, universe, I'm assuming you got me. You sent me on this trip. I assume that you have me protected. And it's you and me out here. You have to have me. Let's go. So I'm bumping on my way up the mountain. And I keep going. I'm like, oh, it's pretty, but I'm like, surely I'm gonna get where I'm supposed to be because I knew I was not, you know, and I'm just alone with you. And I even say, once I said, universe, we're alone, but you've got to have me. Like I'm putting my full trust in you. And there was some song on the radio that I'd never heard. I just had it on one of the stations because I'm in a rental car, and it was something about um, all alone but together in no man's land. And I just kind of laughed. And I was like, well, okay, we're all alone together in no man's land. You got me. Um, and, uh, and I go all the way to the end of this road, and there's a closed gate. So I had to turn around and go all the way back. So this picture is from the top of this mountain where I was not supposed to go. I think there was another one too. And it was very beautiful. Look at that beautiful sky. And so later, I kind of was like, well, what, everything that you would, every energetics is everything. So I was like, well, why did I attract this into my, you know, experience on this trip to Ireland? And it was very clear. You were told here to go from an external source. Your internal guidance told you not to go and to do it, but you pushed through anyway. And the lesson was you don't have to push through. It's if you listen to your guidance, things are not that hard. And it related to, some life lessons that I'm dealing with and going through. And I was like, and that could seem very obvious, but you know, I in my mind I was like, okay, I'm going to follow this because I it will get me to the other side. And the lesson was like, no, if you had just listened, you could have turned around, save yourself the stress, the hassle, and just it was about listening and guidance. Anyway, but found out later it's like Forestry Road or something. But I wasn't supposed to be on anyway. But I'm here, I'm safe. That and that rental car was amazing, and I'm very grateful. Anyway, oh, that's another one. But beautiful, beautiful, beautiful blue sky. Okay, so then I stayed in Kinvara, which is south of Galway near the Burren in Western Ireland. So this was down from where I stayed, and the castle you see in the back, it's not, and I'll get to it. Um, it's I think Castle Dunguire. Um, it's not open any longer like the grounds, but you can walk up to it because undergoing some, it's in fight about who takes care of it. So I walk up this castle. Uh-uh, no. You know how I was talking about the other castle felt expansive and welcoming? No. This castle was like wanted to see me harm. I felt dark, dark, dark energy. Did not like it. I got there, got pictures, and I would normally I like to explore and would kind of. I felt like there were. Oh, we'll go back. I felt because you can see it's very beautiful. Mm-mm. That castle was dark, unwelcoming. It did not. It wanted harm. It wanted if you come here, we want to harm you. Not saying harm would befall me, but the energy was no, 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 no good. And I looked it up, and that castle was there as like, to protect and fight and things like that. And, when they had the great potato famine, people used to go outside the walls and, beg and it, the history supports it. I mean, but it was whatever energetics are stuck there need to be need to be cleared. It was not great. Um, anyway, so then I went to the Aran Islands, and it was kind of a neutral spot. I didn't get a lot of energetics from the Aran Islands. And I don't think a lot had gone on for me to pick up. So it was just, a nice day out, and I'll kind of, um, you know, but then you see, they've got some people that live out there. It's a really small island. We kind of biked around. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of pictures, so I'll just kind of um, move on through. But then after the island, it we took a boat obviously to the island, and then it went to the Cliffs of Moher. But because you had the option to go to the top of the cliff and look out. I did the boat. We saw some dolphins. It was great, but they felt very live. They felt very performative. Look at us. We're put on a show. You could feel all that tourist energy. It's used to being like, you know, look at us. We are seen and we're showy, and it was very interesting. It was very beautiful, but very performative feeling. It didn't feel like just nature. It felt very performative nature, like we're put on a show for you. We're here to please you, kind of thing. Like we are beautiful, and so enjoy us and things like that. So it was interesting to just feel the energetics of how this. And I'll kind of again move through. I don't want to bore you with a bunch of pictures because we are talking about the energetics of the land and everything. Um, but yeah, it was very beautiful, but very very performative. So then, um, okay, so my favorite day, I went up to Sligo, which is Northwest Ireland, and they have these Neolithic cliffs that, um, and they are called the Caves of Kesh, and they're caves built into the mountainside that the Neolithic people used. And oh, I'm sorry, this is the burn. I'll just move through this. Oh, let me back up. Okay, because first there was the Horseshoe of Gleneth. Um, that's the burn, and then which is below Galway. So then I went up to the Glen Horseshoe, which is a mountain that you could drive through in Sligo. You know how there's places that you can feel God or all that is. This was this place. I These pictures do not do it justice. I had to get out of my car as soon as I drove up and just feel the energy of the mountain. It was beyond words. I don't have words for it. Um, you felt God. I mean, you felt the oneness of life at this mountain. Um, and it was probably one of my favorite places I've ever been to. Just it was just magnificent. Um, Again, these pictures do not do this justice. It was it touched my soul. It really did. It touched my soul. Um, yeah, it just I mean these pictures are very flat and 2D, and it was another level experience. But yeah, people who live here are just very fortunate. And they have a bunch of sheep that kind of hang out and graze, and yeah, there's little sheep hanging out. And then oh, that was pretty. I'll let you see. But yeah, I mean, it was again, it just somewhere special. So then you drive around, and they had a place you could park and hike, and there was these little sheep, you know, and go into the woods. I didn't hike too much because I was just there for the day. Um, but yeah, this it was just beautiful. I mean, I would next time I go back to Ireland, it's going to be to Sligo and to really. I guess they have beaches too, and um, but this was yeah. Let's see. I just thought that was pretty. Okay, so the caves of Kesh. This was fun. So some farmer owns this, and it's a working farm. It's got like sheep and stuff. So you park down and you got to hike up. And so, you know, like I said, the Neolithic people used to use this. And again, I didn't know anything about why. I just, oh, that's where I'm supposed to go. Let's go. So I go up there, and it was just, again, that's the view looking down. And I've got a video of just, the view. And it felt fun. It seemed happy I was there. It was like, oh, you're here to hang out with us and thank you for coming. Like some caves might feel like kind of scary. No, this felt fun and joyful and appreciative. Well, then I looked it up. Well, these caves were for celebrations and festivities and things like that. So I felt it. Years of celebrations had just kind of energetically stuck there. That was a little sheep hanging out, welcoming me up, and but then I'm in the cave. It just felt fun. It just was happy and light, and it was very neat. And I guess the videos don't want to show, but you can kind of see. I didn't go all the way back because there's a bunch of sheep poop and things, things like that. But then there's little sheep hanging out. Um, so is that, yeah. So then the last place I'll talk about, I went to what it was it the Carrickeel, yeah. Um, and it's a bunch of tombs also from the Neolithic period. it wasn't too far from the caves. So, and again, I just knew they were tombs, didn't know, much else. So I went, you parked. You could drive up, but you really, I did. I mean, one person did it I saw, but I didn't feel very, you know, it was gated. There was a bunch of sheep. So I parked up and then went through the gate and walked up. And it was kind of a long walk and, hike up the mountain and stuff like that. And on the way up was very nice. There was a bunch of sheep everywhere. But the caves did not want me there. Not just me. It did not. I felt very much like we don't want you here. You should not be here. These are not for you to be touristing. Um, and I felt very not a dark, heavy energy like at that the Dunguire Castle, but it was this is a sacred, these are tombs. This is a sacred space that should not be violated for tourism. And so, I'd already hiked up by that point. I kind of said I'm sorry and, I'll take my pictures and then get out of there. So I didn't stay long and because I guess it went all the way around, but I don't want to violate the land and its wishes. Um, but yeah, it it did not want to be a tourist trap. But I guess they used to have it where people could go in the caves, which blows my mind. But I guess people, being unconscious, started, defacing and causing a lot of graffiti and things like that. Um, but yeah, so they were nice, but they did not want to be a touristy trap at all. It felt very much like you need to. It's time for you to go. We don't really, and so I honored that, and I didn't stay long, and I hiked back down the mountain pretty quick. Um, so then, oh, the last place, I went to Boyle Abbey, which was some monks back in the I don't know. It's the last abbey or something. Um, so I went there and, it was just not kind of on my way back down. And just to see if I just like to stop and see if I pick up anything. And, didn't really get too much out here. Well, so then I go in here and I was like, ooh, this was liberated. It felt free. It whatever had been holding it down was released. And so then I went back out and saw it was a sacristy, which is and I didn't really know. I could kind of guess, but didn't really know. But it's where, the priests go and they say their prayers and they do what all they're going to do before they go preach, which, religion is very heavy and dense. So it's very traditional, very Saturnian. And so, you know, they think there's more rules to the universe than there are. And so, you go and you've got all these rituals and ways of doing things that kind of sit in this space and now it's free. So all the greenery is kind of open because, you could say, well, that's just what you think. Well, they have the kitchen, which looks similar um, on the other side, and it doesn't have the same kind of energy, like because it's the kitchen. So I actually, it really was a sense of freedom and openness, and whatever was trapped in there had been released, and clear energy was able to take in that space. So that was the main thing I picked. And then I went to Galway. I didn't really pick up anything from Galway, but it was pretty, I just thought that little bird was cute. And so anyway, I think, oh, then on the way out, I went to Athenry and showed my kids the old toilet, how they used the potty back in the day. And I thought that was pretty. And Athenry is just slightly east, heading back from Galway. And then this was a old you know, I don't know what that is, but this was an old cemetery, obviously. But anyway, I just want to kind of share what I got from, the land in Ireland and the different places and just by paying attention and stuff. So I'll do one on Spain next because it was such a different experience. Um, yeah, it was very different and I don't have as many pictures, so it will be more about talking about things like that. But yeah. Well, I got a few pictures. Anyway, but yeah, so I had a lot of fun. If you have any questions, but yeah, it's always fun going somewhere new and feeling the energy and what it wants to say and what it's picked up and held over the years and things like that. So anyway, I'll talk to you soon. If you have questions, let me know. Thank you. Bye.